G'day, g'day, how you going? What do you know? Don't strike a light. G'day, g'day, and how you going? Just say g'day, 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 and you'll be right.
Now we come to the portion of the service before we do our Bible study that we address some end times news and trends that are happening around the world as it relates to Bible prophecy. And there's a couple things I just wanted to share with you in a nutshell. Interesting, newsworthy items to be aware of. Some of you probably saw, if you're reading the Jerusalem Post, how Abbas has decided to sign a peace deal with Israel. The Palestinian president has voiced an unprecedented readiness to reach a peace deal with Israel. Sources close to the efforts to renew the talks between Israel and Palestine have told the Jerusalem Post. Abbas, according to the sources, had made it very clear to President Trump that during their meeting at the White House the other week, that the president plans to use his trip to Israel. And again, as you know, he's going to Saudi Arabia first, and then Israel, and then Vatican, which is interesting when you see his connections with the Muslim world, the Jews there in Israel, and dealing with the Pope and the Catholic Church. So it'll be an interesting time. But again, within that trip, he's going to use to talk to Israel about this peace agreement as well. Since his meeting with President Trump the previous week, Abbas has changed his rhetoric and is issuing a number of statements meant to reflect flexibility on previous commitments and demands that he wanted. For example, that he would renew the talks under Trump and his support without preconditions, which is interesting. And there's always the devil's in the details. You've heard that. So they didn't go into they just kind of hit a broad stroke with this particular news article. And that he also said that he wouldn't negotiate with Netanyahu without freezing the settlement construction. He's also sent his advisors to press to declare the Palestinians are prepared to negotiate with land swaps with Israel, a recognition that some of the West Bank settlements will remain part of Israel within the framework of the future deal. So this is one of those interesting pieces of the puzzle. It's getting closer and closer to this deal that will be made. Also, Abbas, as you know, this previous week had met with Putin, and he says that Moscow must be a part of this peace process. And as you know, Ezekiel 38, that's the Moscow process, the Russia invasion that will eventually happen. But you'll see that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, as Abbas was telling them, will be impossible without the participation of Moscow in the peace process. So it's interesting that they're trying to include Putin and the Russians in a part of this whole deal. On to another news source, but dealing with the Middle East. Despite the new charter, Hamas founder clarifies goal is still to destroy Israel. According to the Times of Israel and another report that talks about how Hamas assures critics Israel's destruction is still its goal. So that's always been its clear objective. And according to the Times of Israel report, that Hamas founder or co-founder, clarified on Wednesday that his terror group's new political program, which some interpret as accepting the idea of the Palestinian state on the 1967 lines, would not preclude Hamas from seeking to liberate all of the historic Palestine, including Israel. So they want to just go full force on this particular option there. And then to the north, you're dealing with Hezbollah. And this report out of the Yahoo News says that the future war will be on Israel's territory. And another report talked about it could be an invasion. So they're pushing this agenda so more closely. And so this could also be that potential Psalm 83 war that hasn't happened yet. And it's still in the developing stages of all these countries getting closer and closer to seeing the destruction there. Hezbollah, as you know, is an ally of Iran and Tehran. They get their funding from them. They get their weapons from them. They have over 100,000+ rockets ready to launch into Israel. They're also working with Damascus, and they've been fighting for years in Syria's conflict against the arrays of rebels and the Sunni Islamic fighters. So it's just something we need to be paying attention to and seeing what's going on there. And then speaking of Islam, there was a Imam, and this is something that's been going on for quite some time with a lot of the mosques that are proclaiming their rhetoric. But this Imam in Copenhagen, Denmark, he says, "Fight the Jews and kill them." So this is that peaceful, loving Islamic religion that the news reports are always telling us. It's peaceful religion when they're calling for destruction and murder and killing people. This particular Imam, that it was recorded, and they posted on Facebook and YouTube, and it went viral. But he's also declaring a caliphate is coming, which we've talked about many, many times before, that the state governed and according to Islamic Sharia law. So they're pushing ever so hardly on this destruction of Israel, the hatred toward the Jewish people. And the last item, just to keep a pulse on and what's happening in Europe, Austria, according to this report out of Express, is on the government set to collapse and can cause an EU nightmare. So they're on the verge of collapse due to a shock resignation from a vice chancellor who resigned, and they're prompting calls for an election. So many people within what is called the People's Party believe an election should be called rather than replacing the party leader, and continue the shaky coalition with the Social Democrats. These two parties, again, had clashed regularly since taking power in 2013. And this resignation is set to be an uneasy alliance with the death knoll. The officials fear the resignation could provide huge chance for what is called the far right Freedom Party, founded in 1956 by a former Nazi, and who's vehement opposed to migration and the European Union. So this could be one of those, another country pulling out of the European Union, which sets up a whole nother a change of events economically, but also politically, and what has taken place. And we also know within the revived Roman empires where the Antichrist will eventually come out and rule as well. So this is just one of those things noteworthy, something to pay attention to, what is happening. Most people, that news just flew under the radar. People weren't even paying attention to that, but that could be one of those other pieces of a game changer of what takes place in end-time events. And that's it for today's update.